Hey everyone, Maury Curtis Dunbar here. Great to see everybody on a beautiful, well, actually not so beautiful Friday here. It's about to pour rain. Now I am just loading up so I can see any comments and questions. Beautiful. Oh yeah, and I got to turn the volume down because I don't really need to hear myself. Okay. So we are live. I'm seeing myself. I'm glad to see people are popping in. So what we're going to do today, and excuse the hair, I'm going this afternoon to get my hair done, so it looks like I slept with my hair in an egg beater. Okay, so you saw me earlier working on these cups. Now these are due to my client next week. So the next step is I have lettering. And each of these are done to fit, but they're going to have to be positioned because this is the lettering for a wine cup. Clearly that doesn't fit that way. Hey, Kathy Brown, nice to see you here. So I have to cut the lettering apart and place it carefully. And we have other cups. So I'm going to be here with you and we're going to put some lettering on some of these cups. I'm not going to try to do the epoxy unless I hit a miracle and get done what I actually need to get done to put some epoxy on stuff. All right, let me flip my camera down. So here is my cup. Now I did this one already and it's going to be a little harder to see. But here, the lettering is here, and then the 50 is on the back. Again, the camera doesn't pick it up as well. So I need to do the same thing with this one. So I take this, I have printed it out like this, but I cut everything apart. So the next thing that I have to do, hello everybody, Ethel and Virginia, thank you for popping in. I appreciate this. Okay, so I've cut my letters out. Now, this is a family 50th anniversary, so these are the nicknames of the people that they're celebrating. I take this after I've cut it all on my Cricut, obviously, and weeded it and placed it with the transfer tape on. And you've seen me do some lives. I didn't bring you in to do all the weeding and picking, especially with letters curly like this. It takes a little more effort. All right. So I'm going to slowly, carefully roll the backing paper, and I have tweezers. I have a couple different ones, but little pointy ones are really good for this really delicate lettering. Because, you know, transfer tape is great, but sometimes the letters just like to stay stuck on the backing. So gently roll the backing down. And this see my letter came off. That's not a big deal. I stick it down here, pull my finger off of it, and then have to get this all replaced again because now it's sticking to my finger and it's sticking to my tweezers. That happens all the time. Clearly it doesn't freak me out. Otherwise, I'd be turning off the camera right now, but this is part of dealing with this. You know, and I burnished these. I took my little burnisher, I scraped this, I worked it. Still wants to stick to the backing. That's just what happens sometimes. So I'm kind of gently rolling the paper to get everything to stay stuck on the transfer film. Come on, come all the way off. I got the dot on the I. Come on, stick down there, not on me. Okay, slowly feed this off. Because if you do this fast, all of this would come off and still be adhered to the back. So take your time to figure this stuff out. Oops, now it's gonna wanna stick to my finger. See, my bee stuck on my paper even though I had it almost completely off. So that's what I get. Be on there correctly. Let's see if I can get it off of my finger and off of the tweezer. And then we'll straighten out the T. And there we go, it's on there. And we're gonna take it and transfer it onto our cup. Now having done one, I've already figured out my spacing. We're gonna put the big T right up here near the lip. Why? Because there is a lid going on here, so I don't have to worry about this being a drinkable surface where the mouth would sit, so I don't have to worry about lettering being covered, but that's on there well. And see how nicely that grabs right onto that epoxy? That's part of the reason I like to do a layer of epoxy, then my letters, then another layer. I've done it other ways, and I usually have to do it the other way if I'm in a rush. I prefer taking the time to do it so that I can get the layers in between. I find that they adhere better, so I have less issues with them tumbling. So you saw I just burnished this. Again, this is the effort to make it stick to the transfer tape. This is my ampersand for the and. Hey, Tina and Virginia and my husband popped in to watch for a minute. That's the William is my husband. So let's pull this gently. Like I said, I have lots and lots of tweezers. Don't ask me why. They just seem to accumulate in my life. It's a little like some people get packets of ketchup. I seem to acquire needle nose tweezers. Okay, so here is my big T. So basically what I'm looking at now when I do this lettering is that it's 3 here and 1 here. So that's 4 letters, but this space makes it 5. So to center it, I would center the ampersand right on my G right there, because then I've got even spacing. Okay, let's get that on there. There we go. That's on, and it's well centered. And then we're gonna get the last one. There's the Joe Z. All right. Now let's start rolling these letters off carefully, carefully, carefully. That's not what I wanted. I want a tweezer. The burnisher's not going to help me. It'll only be something else it'll stick to. Now, for whatever reason, the majority of this one stuck to the transfer tape really nicely, and I don't have to play with it too much. Yay! So there's my Joe Z. And okay, so now I actually have to do a little more centering. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. Let's get that all on there properly. And see, that took on there really, really nicely. I'm sorry, it's not easy to see in this light. And I still have the 50th because it's their 50th anniversary. So I put that on the back of the wine cups because these are simply not long enough to handle it all the way through the front. It's just too much. And I did look at cutting this smaller, and I nearly went blind trying to weed it. So I said, nope, we're gonna do it so that it's legible and I won't go blind. Okay. Come on, all the way off. There we go. I've got my 50 on my transfer, and then I take this, and so I know this is center right here, the ampersand is center, and I look to center it in the back. Now again, if you're really not good at doing what I'm about to do, don't eyeball it. Get a measuring tape. Now for the most part, I'm good at this. Every once in a while I pull a bonehead, but not today, I hope. Yep, got it right where I wanted it. And see, there's the 50 on the back. And my customer chose all the colors for everything, so that's why we're using these colors. Okay, this is one of the kids' cups, which is super cute. It's one of the boys. So we used our navy camo foil, and this one has a lid too, and it will come with a straw. So this is one of the kids' cups, which I think is just the cutest thing. And we're gonna do the big letters first because those will be easier to read. And these I don't even have to change the positioning because I might move them. Actually, I don't like them that far apart though. So this one grandchild calls them Big G and Little G. So that's why we got this lettering. And I needed something, enough contrast to stand out against it. So instead of going, I didn't have any bright blue. It wasn't something, I looked at them, I didn't like them. So we went with a little teal because that will make it stand out a little more. So we've got our G and G. And then I wanna see where the back of the cup is. There's the back. I'm gonna put the G and G right here. I don't like how those are sitting. That's all right, actually. It's the thing that's crooked, not my lettering. Okay, we got our G and G on there, nice and neatly. So we've got our G and G on there. And then we're gonna put the 50 underneath it. Okay. Let's go right there. Perfect. So look how nicely that came out, G and G 50. And these are, again, like I said, these are for a family, not reunion, but family celebration, 50th anniversary of the grandparents. So I think that's just so cute. Now this is one of the gentleman's cups. Now some of these cups, they were around while I was spraying mold release spray. So definitely I take a little denatured alcohol, spray it down, wipe the surface down. You can hear the squeak because that means that I won't have any adverse reactions when I put on my epoxy, which is a big deal. You don't want that to happen. Okay, so now I'm going to measure this against this. Okay, Big T and Josie, it does fit on there. That's a bad cut though. I'm going to take the right one that I fixed. So we're going to put that on there. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, again, burnish. Now I don't like this spacing. I think this spacing is too far apart. It's just awkward looking. So we're going to cut it across and we're going to tighten it up a little just to make it look better. I really am kind of I didn't, you know, sometimes the way things print on your Cricut or cut on your Cricut, sometimes you have to move things around a little. I like to respace things if I don't think I'm getting what I want out of it. And sometimes I've even respaced the letters themselves in words because the way they cut is not the way they would look normally. There's some spacing, there's like something that's, sometimes when you cut these letters, you get a spacing in between letters that's so awkward and it looks really big and gappy. So I will cut these apart and reapply them in the way that really looks more readable, more legible, more normal to the human eye. Because we all know what computers do sometimes is not exactly what is needed on a printed surface. Okay, that says Big T. Let's roll this back. Again, I'm going to take my tweezers. There is a piece of glitter stuck to my backing. It's transferred off of everything. The glitter just wants to be there. Fortunately, it will not stick to the cup. funky. I got to be very careful because there's some really super thin pieces of transfer here. Very, very fine lines, and they're going to easily twist. I'm going to have to mess with a few of them, I'm sure. Okay. That came off well, so the only one that's not sitting right is the eye. And let's turn it so it does sit correctly. Like I said, super fine lines can really be a challenge. Doesn't want to turn that way. Well, let's see. Which way? There we go. Sometimes you just have to hit it the right way to get it to sit down correctly. Okay, here's my cup. We're gonna do big T up here. Let's see how nicely that's set right on there. And then we have our ampersand. And what I'm talking about fine lines, see how thin that is right there? That is not easy to weed, nor is it easy to transfer. So take your time. I shouldn't say it's hard, it just requires patience. Because, you know, this stuff wants to, sorry, I got a little goopy stuff on my hands. I think there's a little epoxy stuff one in a spot over there that I just stuck my hand into. Clean my tools, clean my fingers. All right. So I want to make sure that I'm careful to get this done right. That's really what I'm trying to say, is take your time. Oops. Moved too fast, pulled out the center of the ampersand. Okay, come on, stay down. There we go. Big T. Now I might stagger these to twist down, so I'm going to put this here instead of centering it like I might normally, because I think the stagger will be kind of good, fun looking on this. One of those little fine lines want to twist up on me. Not happening. Okay. I don't know what that was all about. Sorry about that, folks. Getting a random phone call. And sorry, everyone. I don't know what's going on. Somebody's ringing my phone. Alrighty. Up, peel it back, and actually I have my phone calls off. It's coming through Wi-Fi, so now I may not be crazy about how that's spaced, so I may pull all of my letters and shift them down, but for now we're going to leave it as it is, and we're going to do the last little bit on here. Okay, there we go. We got our 50. And then let's do that. 1, 2, 1, 2. This will work. right, so I have everything on here, and then we're getting ready to move the next step. Now, since I'm going to want to play with this, we're going to put the letters on another cup. You guys get to the thrill of watching me do it twice now for the big T and Josie, because I don't want to play with the other one until I've adjusted some spacing. I don't want to put epoxy on it. That. Maybe if I don't get another internet call, Wi-Fi calling, I would not get startled and place the thing down in the wrong place. That's right, I'm blaming somebody else. It's all somebody else's fault today. Okay, let's go over here. So there we go. We got everything trimmed down. Make sure I don't lose any of the good parts. Get rid of all the stuff I don't need. Because why? Otherwise it's in my way. Oh, sorry folks, my nose itches. It's that time of year. Okay, so I'm going to scrape my letters again. Burnish them to the top. Everything's burnished. Let's try this one again. Once again, got to spritz it with a little alcohol. I don't want to have any bad results because there might be a little silicone mold spray on this. And it's silicone molds, you know, that was just because I was working with other products, you know, while I was doing these, and that can happen. So I want to make sure it's good and clean. You know, when you're in a studio where you do all kinds of stuff, you have to really be aware of what's flying around in the air so that you don't screw up something on a different spot in the room. Okay, let's start rolling this back. As you can see too, I'm rolling it, just feeding it there. Do I epoxy after placing the letters? Yes. I do a sandwich layer, so I do one coat of epoxy on here because I find that the letters stick better to the epoxy. Then I do the letters, apply them, and then do another layer of epoxy. Sometimes I might need to do a third layer if there's any irregularities that need to be handled. Come on, almost off. There we go, that one, oops. See, there's that little bit of lettering there, so I'm gonna have to place it on here once I get it done, because you don't wanna miss anything. Okay, there's big T. And yes, this sticks nicely to the epoxy. It's much easier to weed off of than, like, say, top coat. I've done it both ways. I personally think the weeding goes, the adhesion goes better right off of there. Although I got a little bubble here, so I just got to work it around. And then I have this little tiny piece right here that goes on the B. So let me take that off with my tweezer and insert it. Right there. Oops, not quite right there. It's too close. There's that part. Sorry, I got to get over here and get the angling right, because, yeah, I'm going blind looking at something this small. Come on, Maury. You can get it. It just wants to fight me. This will be the stuff that sends me to the padded room. Trying to line up little tiny stuff like this, well, and not go blind. Ugh, it just keeps wanting to stick to the tweezer. Sorry folks, I gotta keep moving this around until I can get an angle where it fights me less and sticks to that better. There we go. Now it's on. Okay, let's get the ampersand on. Come on. Okay, let's roll it back. So this rolling completely parallel actually helps peel the vinyl off of the backing tape and allows you to keep it onto the transfer better. If I pulled it straight up, it would all just be stuck here. This rolling motion allows me to, if it starts to lift where I don't want it to take my tweezers and tack it right back down. Okay, big T. Look at my, and then I know I went over here. The ampersand, get that on. Okay. Hey, Sue Rowland, nice to see you. And Desiree, thanks for everybody coming in. I appreciate it. You all popping in and watching what I'm doing. Okay, the last one, we got to get the, well, it's not the last. We got to get the Josie and the 50 on there, so that'll be better. To come off there, and I don't want it to. Again, those little stinker details that just want to roll right off. There we go. And there we go. Now, if you're really OCD about placement and everything, definitely mark it out. You can put tape lines down so you get everything perfect. I'm not quite that OCD, and people who know me know that's we put that as part of my charm. Okay, where's my 50? Roll it back. And then let me take a look at how I did it over here. Yep, that's exactly what I thought I did. And then we'll stagger that there. So again, we're all set on here with the lettering. It looks really nice. I've got 4 cups, so that means I have 4 cup turners that I need to put the epoxy on. And I am watching my time so that I don't run too long, but we're gonna mix up some epoxy. And then we'll go and coat these cups. I hope. I think I have one more sponge brush floating around somewhere because that's what I need. Come on. I'm out. I don't have, you know, another thing besides sponge brushes you could use are silicone, flat-edged silicone paddles. Those are wonderful. They're called silicone brushes. They're really nice to work with for stuff like this. Now, I have another load of these cups to do. There's, as you can see, there's more letters and stuff and words floating around, but we're gonna work on these that I just finished after I pull all this stuff out of my way and can pull the cups for mixing epoxy in front of me. All right, let me get all that out of the way. Here we go. Now, this was the one cup I forgot to spritz with a little alcohol, so I'm gonna do that right now. Will not hurt the adhesive or anything that I just put on there because I'm not using it to remove stuff. I just want to make sure there's no little extra bits of goo on anything that I wasn't aware of. And then I'm going to move my camera over here so that you can see what we're going to be doing with the cup turners and stuff. But then I'm going to come back here first and we're going to mix epoxy. Sorry for making the thing shake. Okay, so we need to put that out of the way. We have cups. All right, here's my epoxy. We're going to use Art Resin epoxy, 2-part epoxies. And then we're going to take that. So let me go get some sticks to stir and a couple gloves. I didn't know how the timing would go, so I hadn't pulled gloves over because, yeah, I'm that kind of smart person. Let's see. Give me a second. Let me go see if I can find my sponge brush that I was looking for. I knew I had a couple more. Doing all this epoxy, I run out of sponge brushes like crazy. Like nutso. All right. Let me do this. Now I'm going to mix more epoxy than I need because I have some things that need to be cast. So I'm going to do molding after I do this. And then tomorrow when I do my live again, oops, there's a little piece of something stuck under there. Ooh, little tube of crazy glue. I don't even know why that's there. I'll show you everything. I'll do the unmolding on a live. So let's get some pouring here. First, we're going to put in the resin. You need to be equal, 1-to-1, 50-50. This. Okay, if you're not 1-to-1, what happens? Well, if you put too much hardener or not enough resin, your epoxy starts setting up too fast, and then you will have adhesion issues. It might delaminate. It will definitely be brittle. And if you put too much resin and not enough hardener in, your epoxy won't cure properly. It will be soft. It might have sticky spots and it won't cure. You have to pour more epoxy over it to make that better. And it's really messy when that happens, I gotta tell you. Ugh. God knows I've been through it. I've done it. Had some really gooey stuff. I've even showed you one of my bad pours. So as you notice, I'm scraping down, getting everything I can out of this container. Okay, we're gonna set that cup to the side. Now, it looks clear. When you start mixing this, the two will start getting cloudy. Now, most instructions will tell you to mix for 2 minutes. They don't tell you how hard to mix or how gently. So if you're pouring resin to cast it, you can mix it slower because then you get fewer bubbles. There's also some really interesting tricks and stuff to to casting resin to keep it less bubbles. Well, I'm not gonna worry about that one. We're just pouring it on cups today, so you're gonna see how that goes. And how do you know when your resin and epoxy mixture is ready to go? Well, as you can see, it turned cloudy in the stirring. It will be less cloudy once it's completely mixed. Make sure you scrape the sides, make sure you scrape the bottom. You want every little bit of it mixed up as much as humanly possible. Some people will tell you that if you mix with a silicone spatula, you get fewer bubbles. Quite frankly, I don't worry about that. I just want the stuff mixed. Bubbles I handle with either a blowtorch or a heat gun. Works perfectly well. Creme brulee torch. And honestly, if you want less bubbles, don't mix it like I'm mixing now. Stir slowly. You'll still get bubbles, but you'll get fewer. I don't worry about it. I have other ways to do this. Now, if I was, now I'm not going to get into that. That's if I was casting for you guys to see it. I talk about some of the other things that I've learned. But right now, not going to worry about it. We're just doing the cups. Let me make sure I've got this all mixed. My epoxy has turned clear. I want to make sure there's not even any single hint of streakiness in there, no cloudiness. I want it perfectly clear. That's why I keep scraping the sides, because every time I scrape the sides, I get a little swirl of haze in there, which means that there's resin and hardener that haven't been mixed. And I don't want to set myself up for failure, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, so let's flip the camera up over here to my turners. So you can see I have 4 turners set up on my table. You can see the blowtorch all the way over here. The only thing that's left for me to do is pull the extension cord out and plug it in. Oops. And try not to throw everything on the floor as I do it. Okay, so we have clearly got extension cords galore here because why? Because I don't have an outlet behind there where it would be convenient for me. So let's go plug this into my outlet over here and just get it running. Let's see. Oh, I have the plug that likes to not work right. I'm going to have to replace this thing soon. Okay. I know I should have done this before, but I wasn't sure if I was going to actually be able to get things going to show you the cup turner. I already know how things were going to go. And I'm still not turned on here because the outlet's acting up. So every once in a while you get a plug that does something weird like this. I don't know if you can see this, where the prong is shorter. It gets shoved up under something and it goes shorter. So I just need to grab a plier and fix it. There it is. I got a plier right here. This happens when somebody steps on the plugs and stuff. Now, I shouldn't have any problem. Shouldn't is the operative word, of course, because I'm on a live, so that means everything's going to go wrong. Let's see if there's a running. Why isn't that going? Oh. Now I got it. Turn all of them off. Whew. All right, so I'm going to push all the cup turners back except the one in the very, very end of the lineup. I'm going to put, yes, this is what I want to put on there. So I'm going to put 1 cup on here. I'm going to put this one on here. And I have already epoxied the lid to this. Every time I was doing a little coat on something, I'd put another coat on the lids. And then we're going to put the 2 wine glasses over here on these small ones. In there. Now, honestly, these are my least favorite turners. Those there, they are, sorry, I'm going to push this up just a little. These I got from Michael's. I think they're overly expensive. You know, just, they're not, I don't think they're great for this. I personally think there are other choices that are better. I like these better. I think they rotate better. I think the engine's better. The motor's on it, and they're cleaner and they're simpler and they fit all different sizes. This thing isn't, you know, requires adjustment. It's a pain in the tuchus, as my sister used to say. All right, here's my cup. Let's move some stuff out of the way so I don't accidentally epoxy the wrong things. Turn the cup turner on, okay? It's turning towards me. I'm going to do it exactly the same way I did the other one that you saw when I was doing these to put their base coat on. I'm just going to take some epoxy on my brush. Maybe I'll take the label off the brush. And first, dribble. And underneath my cup turners, I just have parchment paper. Why? Because the parchment paper can be picked up and thrown away, and it doesn't stick permanently to the epoxy that way. It's really easy to work with. It's a no-stick surface. I buy parchment sheets by the case. I don't use them in my house that much, but boy, do I use them here in the studio. So, and then I just let the brush smooth everything for me. There's a little bit of something right there. Got it. See how nicely that works? I don't have to go crazy on it. I just let the brush, I hold the brush still and the cup turner does the work for me. And then this distributes the epoxy nice and evenly across the surface. I keep going around because I missed a couple spots. I can see that. Every time I think I'm smart, I prove myself wrong. I got the nicest compliment from somebody the other day. One of my former students who watches my lives here. She said, I love watching your lives. You're just like me. You're kind of dive into it, and if it makes a mess, so what? Well, yeah, that's true. I watch other people's lives and admire how tidy some of them can be, but yeah, that's not me. I clean up in here during the morning, and by the afternoon, I have totally torn the place apart. I can't do it. I get my head going around so many ideas that suddenly being tidy just doesn't work for me. I'm a messy creator, and you just, you know, sometimes I introduce myself, the mistress of many messes, and that's not at all untrue. Okay, so we're gonna leave that going there, let that settle. Let's push in here. I am truly, you know, messy when I do stuff. Hi, Lisa and Eric or Tanya, whichever one is watching you, and Dee, thank you for popping in. So again, now I'm gonna take my epoxy, just dribble it over this. You don't want this on too thick, because what'll happen is it'll run down this way, and you can get big bubbly blobs on the on the bottoms of the cups. Yeah, I've done it more than once. So it's better if you use a couple thin coats, if you need a second coat, than to use really big, thick coats. You don't get the good result that way. All right, let's move this, keep going, keep going. Yep, I'm just going to keep you guys here with me while I put the epoxy on all the cups. So you see I get all the way down to the end, and then I have to do the bottom. And then I put my brush like this. So what happens is one part of the brush lays the epoxy on, the other part kind of scrapes off the extra and lets it run down the side. There we go. Make sure I didn't miss anything up here. Looks a little skinny right there. When I say something looks a little skinny, it means it looks like I've applied it too thin. Let's pull this one up. Let's turn the turner on. And I'm trying to make them all turn at about the same rate, because this rate seems to be really, really good for cups. If you go too fast, it doesn't level well. You're just basically spinning it in place. And don't forget, you can use these cup turners too to like pour paint on your cups and stuff like that. That's very cool, fun thing to do with this. When this cup turner comes back around, I'm just going to tuck that paper down in so there's no chance of it getting epoxied to the cup. I'm sure you're wondering why I actually have paper wedged in there. I find it helps stabilize the cup holder. Like I said, these are not my favorite ones. I think they're overpriced and awkward compared to these two. Get that on there, and then let's do the bottom. Okay, that one's done. I'll let it turn. And as these turn, I'll go back before I torch them to see if there were any gaps that I missed, because that is completely possible. You know, just because you think you've got it all covered doesn't mean you always do. Let's turn this on at the same place. Yep. All right, let's catch the turns. Definitely poured generously on that one, so I'll be scraping some of this off and putting it back in the cup. Why am I putting it back in the cup? Well, why wouldn't I? It's either that or it spills on here on the surface, and I'm still going to have some of that. But if I can avoid wasting some, you know, epoxy's not a cheap product. Go. They're all epoxied. Let me take a look at the cups as they turn around. Let's see if there's any dimples or gaps that I'm missing. Don't see any. And the next step is I take my blowtorch. Now you can use a brulee, chef's brulee torch, whatever you have, but mine is out of butane, so I'm using the big torch that I normally save for countertops and bigger projects. And this, maybe I'm going to torch a fly that keeps wanting to buzz by my head as I'm doing this. as you notice, I'm not torching directly into it. I'm scooting it across the surface. I'm heating up the epoxy, which then makes it more liquid, which allows the bubbles to rise up and pop, so you get a much nicer surface out of it. Okay, so now they will spin for the next, well, I'll probably just leave them spinning until I come back tomorrow morning. All right, so let's flip this up a little bit. Okay, so that's how I do cups. If I get through this and think there's another layer needed tomorrow, I will put it on there. Again, thin layers work best because then you don't have uneven curing. And you can see where weird stuff happens. Like I just saw this big blob of stuff at the bottom of this cup. So I go back in, I brush it off, it will self-level, and it'll be great. All right, everybody, I hope you have a great weekend. I'll be back here tomorrow. Now, it's Memorial Day weekend. If you're signed up for our email list on our website, which I suggest, starting tomorrow, we're gonna be running a big holiday sale. So if you're not signed up to our website, please do at paintedstudio.com. You'll be emailed the coupon for the coupon code for the weekend sale. And I will look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.